Are you a kids yoga teacher who teaches mixed age groups? So perhaps you teach an after school club or a lunchtime club, or maybe this is in some workshops, children's workshops. And it can be tricky to know how to manage these dynamics with such differing ages, needs, and developmental levels. And so in today's video, I'll be talking all about how to manage mixed age groups in your kids yoga classes, and I hope you find it really useful. So I'm Julia. I'm a children's wellbeing specialist and the founder of Wellbeing Adventurers. I'm also a mentor, trainer and educator for kids yoga teachers. My mission is to upskill and empower children's wellness practitioners, helping them to feel more confident, organised and ready to share their unique gifts with the world, making positive differences in even more children's lives. So mixed age classes are something that I did used to experience a lot in my after school clubs. I had some extracurricular activities, some extracurricular clubs that were grouped by year group or phase. So say like year 1 and year 2, year 3 and year 4. But they tended to be my morning clubs and my lunchtime clubs. My after school clubs tended to be a real range from reception all the way up to year 6. And I did find this hard at first, but I did find some little strategies that helped to make it manageable. So I'm going to share them with you now in case this is your experience. So firstly, structuring the class. So my structure of my usual class used to be a snack and a circle time, a warm-up activity, which was usually based around a theme, possibly some breathing in there too. Then I'd do some pose play. So that's where I would use my cards, maybe some other props to support this. And we'd learn some poses, we'd revisit poses, we'd perhaps play some whole group games, and that would be together as a whole group. And then I'd do some creation time. And in creation time, this would be when I would do some different types of groups, and then we'd come back together for mindfulness and breathing exercises, relaxation, close, ready for home. So that's my general structure and how it worked in these after school clubs. So how can I teach mixed ages in each of these sections? I'm going to talk through those with you. So in pose play for different age groups and abilities, so when I'd be teaching the actual poses, I always made sure that I gave lots of different variations so that each child gets exactly what they need. And so, for example, you might have tree pose. Some children will benefit from having one foot on top of the other foot with their hands and arms in one position, whereas other children may be able to place their foot on their lower leg and they might explore different arm positions. But there may be also some children in the group who benefit from a further challenge, such as placing their foot higher up their leg or moving their arms around and perhaps experimenting with it, with balancing with their leg out to the side, or moving their leg as well as moving their arms. So you can see how the same pose can support a range of different abilities through the use of variation. And this is just like it would be in an adult class with people of varying abilities all doing the same pose but different expressions of the pose that best suits their body. And so this is how I would do that in my children's classes too. So I may offer some extra support through use of props, or options such as leaning against a wall or holding hands with a partner, assuming that both children are happy with this. So if I've got a mixed age group of children, I stick to poses that are appropriate for the youngest children and add challenge through adapting the pose for the more able ones. And this is a much safer option than including more challenging poses, because I've found that if I include the more challenging poses to meet those needs of the higher achieving children, then those who aren't really developmentally ready for that will still try and do it, and it may end up with injury or just chaos. So I tend to start with the simpler poses, but then make those poses more complex through variation. Then, moving into kind of creation time, I'd also be creative in my groups. So I've already said I generally start and end my class in the same way with all of the children together. But for creation time, this is where I'd get creative with groupings. And it worked really well as most of my classes were quite large, about 24 to 25 children. And here are some different grouping strategies that I tried and had some success with. So, choices. So here I'd allow the children to choose who they were working with and feel and be really flexible with this in terms of the number of children. And I would say that I really don't mind who you work with or how many children are in your group, as long as you're following the rules and nobody's feeling excluded. And it actually worked really well. And I was often really surprised of who chose to work with who. And I think this can give you a real insight into the different dynamics of the group as well, particularly if you let that play out and observe and see who chooses to work with who, how do they work together. It's a really nice grouping choice when you don't know the class that well, because you get to see what their preferences are, who they choose, how they work, what they look like when they're working with those children. Then I have random groups. So this is where the pupils would be grouped randomly. So I have no control over who's working with who. And I do this by getting them to each select something from a bag, and then they would be in a group with the children who had picked the thing that matched. So for example, I did this with mega blocks, those like big Lego blocks. I would put them in a bag. Obviously, I would group them. So say, for example, I had a group of 25 and I knew that I wanted 5 groups of 5 children. So I would put 5 blocks green, 5 blocks blue, 5 blocks yellow, 5 blocks red, 5 blocks orange, for example, in the bag, all separated. And each person picks out 1 block, and then they go and find the other colours and build a tower. And when they've built the tower, that is their group for the lesson. And this could work with big Lego blocks. It could work with pegs. I've done it with pegs as well, different coloured washing line pegs. And so they'd each pick out their coloured peg, and then they'd have to find a piece of paper that matched the colour of the peg, and they'd all have to put their pegs on the piece of paper, and that's their group. And it also works well with coloured scarves. They pick a scarf out of the bag and then they dance around the room and try and find the other children with the same colour scarf. And so it's really random, and it worked really well because everybody knows that it's random and they'll only have to work with these children for this amount of time. This is who they're working with. So that's random groups. Similar to random groups, I used random partners, and this is where I would have a 2-piece jigsaw. So, for example, a picture of an animal and a name of an animal. And so each person would have to find their partner. And that worked really well because I would quite often give the pictures to the younger children and the words to the older children. And these are just, puzzles that you can get from shops like The Works. So it's like a 2-piece jigsaw. And so the children with the pictures need to find the children with the words, and the children with the words find the children with the pictures. So a picture of a penguin matches with the word penguin, and then they're partners. And that worked really well as well, because you can also ensure that it doesn't matter who, you don't necessarily know who's going to pick who, but you can judge that an older child is with a younger child by the fact that you've given the younger child the image and the older child the word. And then I've got buddies, and this would work in a similar way where I would partner up an older child with a younger child, and I would either make it obvious that I've decided so and so you're working with so and so you're working with so and so, for example. Or I might give the children name cards so that it appears more random. So I might have all of the name cards, or names written on a lolly stick, or names written in on a piece of card or something. And I give each child, maybe they can sit and have their hands out, and you put it on their hands, and then they go and find their partner. And this is a great way of getting to know other children, but it's also a good way of partnering up older with younger. Then I have whole group, which is what it says on the tin. We're working a whole class together. And then I have ability groups. So this is where I would group the children based on their ability, their stage of development. So obviously you need to know the children pretty well for this and what they're able to do, because it isn't necessarily the case that children the same age will have the same ability. So again, I would either make it obvious that I'm selecting these children you're together, or I would manufacture it by giving specific colours to each person. So maybe if they're sitting around having a little snack and chat, I might go around and pop something either on the back of their mats so they can't see what it is until afterwards, or I might slide a little picture or something underneath the back of their mats. And I would manufacture it. So who's going to work with who? And when the children are grouped in this way, it's possible to give different groups different poses that suit their ability best. So this is a great opportunity to, if you've got a group of really, confident children who have been doing yoga for a long time and you want to extend them a little bit further, you can give them different poses. Or if you've got children who just need something a bit more simple, you can give them different poses. And because they're in their own groups, it doesn't matter that they're doing something completely different to the others. Mixing it up each week ensures that there isn't any chance for cliques to happen. When I first started teaching after school clubs, this did happen. I used to let the children choose who they worked with every single week, and it got a bit cliquey. Some children would be like not wanting to work with others, and it just didn't feel very nice. And also, if somebody's away, it caused an issue because one person would be away and then suddenly their best friend was feeling really sad because they weren't with their best friend. Whereas if you mix it up regularly and you are kind of proactive with the grouping, then that means that it doesn't really happen. Also, don't be afraid to change the groupings if they're not working and if the children are clashing. Not everybody's going to like everyone, and that's okay. It's totally okay for you to be observing and noticing, that's not going well, let's separate them. That's totally fine. So tasks for creation time, what do the kids actually do? So again, there's some different things that I did here for the task time, what they actually did when they're in those groups. And so choices. After introducing the poses of the week, maybe playing some games with these poses too, I might give the children some suggestions of things they might like to do in the groups with their partners. And kids are really creative and imaginative and usually love being given the freedom to choose what they do. So I would give them a choice of a few different things, and I'd observe and keep an eye out and be ready to support where children were having problems or needed a bit of extra guidance. So that's choices. And then there's one job. And that's where I give everybody the same task to do in their group. So it could be to create a flow or create a group pose or play a game that we've learnt. And everyone is in their groups, but everybody's doing the same thing. And then there's rotation. And this is a really fun thing to do that I like to do at either the beginning or the end of a series of classes of working with children. And they love it. So they rotate around different activities, having a turn on each one for a specified amount of time. I call that an obstacle course. And I've actually got a freebie, I think, that has my one. So you can download that and use it. I'll pop that in the comments below. So supporting and extending, obviously we want to make sure that everybody in our class is getting what they need. So when the children are working in groups, that's when I make the most of the time and go and individually support children or extend them as I see fit, basically. So it could be going and giving some specific postcards to a particular children, or it could be chatting and suggesting some alternative movements that might better suit a child's body. It could be me intervening and saying, that's not a very safe thing for you to be doing, let's do this. Or it could be me going, oh, wow, you're doing really great on that. Have you considered maybe trying to do this? So I myself am the tool here. I'm a tool. So I'd be observing them, watching and making intervening where I needed to. So what about the children who are the odd one out? Sometimes we do get a random older child who's the only one of their age in the class, and that's totally fine. And it's really nice for them to experience to be, the older one of the group. And again, you might get a random younger one who doesn't have their friends there. And this can be a really nice opportunity for them to grow their social network. So instead of thinking of it as like, oh, they're like all on their own and it's really awkward for them, you could be thinking, how can this be a good opportunity for that child? And it could be to increase their feeling of confidence, to increase their leadership abilities, or it could be to grow their social network, for example. So if you notice times when someone's looking like they're feeling left out, it's a great opportunity to give them a bit of one-on-one time. And I usually have something in my bag for this scenario. So it could be giving them a job. For example, please could you sort out these pom-poms? They're in a right mess and I need them all in different colour groups. Or it could be giving them an independent task. Would you like to create a flow with these particular poses? Or it could be adding them to another welcoming group. It could be, who do you feel most comfortable with? Would you like to go and work with them? Or it could just be sitting and listening to them. Sometimes children just want to be, with you, and that's totally okay as well. So for me, the key of making a class fun and challenging for everyone is giving some free creation time and observing what the children are doing and giving individual attention where it's needed. All of the children in our class want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel understood and safe. And that's something that all of us can do in our classes. So I hope that you found that useful, and I'd really love to know your thoughts. Is there anything that you're going to try and integrate into your own classes? Is there anything that you heard that maybe is different or new? I'd really love to know what your thoughts are here. And if you've got anything else that you would add, I'm always up for learning more from other kids yoga teachers too. So is there anything that you would like me to do a video on? Please feel free to email me or comment on one of these videos and I will do my best to put it together for you. If you have something specific that you need a little bit of support on, then why not check out my mentoring offers? I do one-off sessions with individual kids yoga teachers, so that could be for an hour or it could be for an hour and a half, or I also do a 6-month mentor package. And at the moment, I've got a special offer on with my 6-month mentor package. So if you know that 2025 is going to be your year, that you're going to focus on your business, then now might be a great time for you to invest, because what you will receive when you invest is you'll get your first meeting with me in January. We'll work together from January until June, till the end of June. So you get 6 full months of my support, and that's with monthly meetings, with emails in between, with WhatsApp support in between. And you will get early access to all of my courses and resources, which means that if you click the link below and purchase now, then you get instant access to all of my courses. So if you're wanting to spend a little bit of time from now until January learning some stuff, going through some e-courses, then this could be great for you, because it would mean that you've got early access to all of those resources that you will have lifetime access to. And then when we meet together in January, we can formulate a plan of how to make 2025 your year, where you feel super confident and super prepared, super empowered to change children's lives for the better. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to email me if you've got a question, julia@juliahankins.co.uk. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.